Mercy, luxurious, Heat Nation, yeah, Mercy and Lago, down to Biscayne, yay, 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs, where here's the thing, you can check the score, hustle hard, couple scars, wearing rubber frauds, down to Biscayne. Kept the floor playing, got it all band. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, Inspire have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Welcome back to another live edition of 5 on the Floor. I'm your host, Greg Sylvander. Tonight's floor plan with me, Major Passons. Feels like we do this show a couple times a week. The Miami Heat blew a lead and lost to a subpar team in the Chicago Bulls. 114-109 was the final score from the KOSATKA Center tonight in Miami. The floor plan, we're going to dissect what was ultimately another squandered opportunity. They finally had everybody back. Obviously Nico is not there. And let's see, and Alec Burks was out, who's been in and out of the rotation. But other than that, they had the full cast of characters, Major, and it was a moment to kind of get those guys more acclimated to playing with one another. There were good moments from Bam, good moments from Wiggs. Honestly, Terry Rozier didn't have the worst game. People don't want to hear that, but he didn't. I thought Tyler redeemed himself in the second half, but had a tough majority of tonight's game. But ultimately, you come back to a situation where 36-20 is what you were outscored in the fourth quarter. You continue to lose these leads. You continue to fall apart late. Your thoughts on the game before we get to our first segment, the player of the game, which we may have to deviate and not go with a Heat player, but I'm just interested to hear your perspective, because this is, when it happened against the Knicks or it happens in Cleveland, you say those teams are in the tier ahead of Miami. But tonight, I felt like you had a chance to try to show, when you're close to full strength, that you could separate yourself a bit from the Chicago's, the 10 seeds, that part of the bracket. And the Heat didn't do that tonight. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a mediocre team. Like, I think I'm usually the guy that's like, they can make a run, they can do this type of thing. But they're just a mediocre team, right? They're not good. They're not as bad as a lot of people want to think they are. They're able to compete against almost anyone. They just can't hold the leads. And whenever it matters the most, it's the same problem. People a lot of times attribute it to Jimmy, right? That Jimmy would, make the offense stagnant at the end of games. Well, he's not here, and that same exact thing is happening. I mean, if Wiggins wasn't hitting those shots late in the fourth, they would have got quote unquote blown out in this game. I mean, you had Terry at 1 point 5 of 7 from 3, and they're still you get a good Terry game and you still can't find a way to win. I mean, I just think it's time. They're just an average team. We got to accept it. They're going to get leads. They're going to lose leads. They're going to go down a lot. They're going to come back in a game. It goes to clutch games. So at least they're exciting at the end.
Yeah. But it's tough. And we got a comment here for our podcast listeners. We're doing this live, so there are viewers on YouTube, and shout out to y'all for checking us out. We are simulcasting on X as well from the 5 Reasons Sports, I want to say Twitter account, because it's just what I always call it. And Rastaman Q says, none of you clowns will call out Spo, so the same BS will continue to happen. So I'm gonna address this quickly. First off, please don't call me a clown. You don't know me, and there's no reason to be disrespectful. So that's first off. Second, we've said, and I have said, that this is probably one of Erik Spoelstra's worst seasons of his career. And also, so we've acknowledged that. And us calling him out is not going to make him do anything different with his job. The media asking him questions is not going to make him do anything different with his job. The idea that the media will hold him accountable is so ridiculous. It lacks emotional intelligence, and it's. I'm not even going to get into it any further. I just wanted to address this idea that we don't call Spo out. He is having probably one of the most challenging, worst seasons of his career. Playing Terry Rozier, playing those 3-guard lineups late. I understand all of the things that make you frustrated, but the media is not going to change that. Don't try to make the media members and us with a podcast like we're influencing Erik Spoelstra. Okay, I am now off of my soapbox. We go to the first segment. Let's get to the Insurance by Lynette, A Aggressive Player of the Night.
And now it's time for the A Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylynette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylynette.com. And now, the player of the game.
So, yeah, I'd love to give it to Bam, but I'm not going to do that. Josh Giddey, triple-double alert, 37 minutes, 26 points, 9 of 15 from the field, 10 rebounds, 12 assists. Zach Collins, 18 points, 16 rebounds. He was annoying tonight. Buzelis continues to impress me. So there was a lot of players for the Chicago Bulls who, they grinded out this victory. But Josh Giddey was the guy tonight. They had no answers for some of what he was doing. And it made it difficult, particularly in the second half. Anybody else that we should give a shout out to before we go to the next segment?
Not really. Giddey was the best player. Bam had an argument. I will say that. I do want to shout out Bam. He's been really turning it up, but in a loss like this where you blow a late fourth quarter lead, the player of the game can't be on the Heat. So it's got to be Giddey with his triple-double. Very underrated player, does a little bit of everything. Finally being able to use all of his tools instead of when he was at OKC.
Yeah, a couple other call-outs, and we're going to get into Kel'el Ware in a minute here, but he had 12 rebounds in 26 minutes. Davion Mitchell, 8 assists, no turnovers. If he plays defense and distributes the basketball without committing turnovers, Spoelstra's going to play him. He got 29 minutes tonight. I think it's maybe a product of Terry Rozier shooting a little bit better than usual, but I continue to like what I see out of Davion, but ultimately, collectively, this team is not good enough right now. And to your point earlier, we have to kind of come to grips with that. And now it's about, you got to position yourself to try to, I guess, get in the playoffs and make a run. Heat fans in the comments want the quiet tank to take place. Sometimes the basketball gods just make these things happen the way that they do. We will see how it plays out, but this group is going to fight. But they keep losing leads. So, there's some tactical stuff that I think also that we can point to with some of this. Let's get to the X-ray of the play of the night. That's going to get into Ware a little bit more.
And now it's time for the X-ray of the play of the day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you. If you work in a hospital or a medical office, get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-ray of the play of the day.
So I really thought, and I agree with Eternal on this. So Eternal was right. Hashtag. Khalil Ware should have came back in the game later. The defense needed more rim protection. I felt like when the game was getting away, part of it was some of the smaller 3-guard stuff, Terry continuing to play. Do you disagree with me? And any other plays that jump out at you? I mean, there was some fun stuff. Like, that's what sucks about these close games that they lose, Major, because ultimately, if they were to win some of these games, there would be highlights that you and I would be calling out and say, do you remember when this happened? And, Wiggins made that clutch 3, or this happened, or, and then ultimately when they lose a lead, lose at home to a subpar team, it's hard for us to really get excited about any plays. But does anything jump off the page at you that we should talk about?
I mean, not really, to be honest. Kind of what you're saying, and we've mentioned this on our post games before, because I feel like you started out the show, like we've done a lot of depressing ones recently. It's plays don't matter as much, especially when you blow big leads. So like ones that were fun that stick in, it ultimately doesn't matter at the end. I do want to say for Ware, I know I've been one of the more critical people of Ware across the whole season, right? But I do want to shout out, I think his positioning has gotten a lot better as the season's gone on. And I did love one thing, and so I'll make this the play of the game. When Ware swiped down and fouled, I forgot, it might have been Kobe White. I love Davion and Bam came up to him. It was teaching him in that moment, like, you're really tall. Just put your hands up. Like, don't swipe down. Like, Bam was literally like, just put your hands up. You're so much bigger than him. And you can alter the shot that way. You don't have to. Sometimes it can actually hurt you to try to make a play, right? And so I think Ware, though, has grown a lot in his positioning and his rebounding and stuff like that. So I do think he deserves props. And I think this season's kind of turning into, we're looking for underlying things, not necessarily ways this team can compete, but ways that we can look forward to the future. And that pains my heart to say, but it is just the reality of the situation.
No, I'm glad you brought up that point, because we mentioned it on playback. We said, look at the coaching moment when Bam went up to him after that. And you're right. Like, you do have to find the underlying things that could be connective tissue to success in the future with next season. This season, I mean, what are we doing here? Is it going to be a first round exit? Is it going to be play-in fodder? We shall see. There's a lot of basketball left to be played, but 20 games, I mean, you're not turning around a ton here. They're way back in the loss column to Detroit. I wonder, did Detroit win tonight? Let's try to check that just quickly. They are currently up 3 against the Warriors at the end of the third quarter as we are recording this. So they may, extend the lead in the 6th seed. They're not getting there. The Heat aren't. This is now going to be about, can you even get a home court game in the play-in? And that's just difficult. I think that even on a night that Terry plays well, he played too much. I mean, I just can't get away from it. Some of the lineups that they ran out there with the 3 guards, I don't understand why they are not leaning into some of the functional size that they do have. Jaquez had his moments, but ultimately didn't really string together a completely consistent game. That's been a reoccurring theme that I think is tough to talk about. Let's dive into the defense before we close up shop tonight. It's a busy Saturday. People are having a lot of fun doing things other than watching the Miami Heat blow leads on their home floor to sub 500 teams. But the real estate shop defending the house segment is next.
And now it's time for our Defending the House segment, sponsored by our friends over at The Real Estate Shop. You can find them at realestateshopfl.com. That's with 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com, or at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. This is Javier Iglesias and Amanda Martin. They help buyers and sellers in real estate. They're nimble and protective of their clients. They service the entire Tri-County area. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties with a proven on-market strategy. The Real Estate Shop sellers earn the most money in the shortest time frame because Amanda and Javier have a deep understanding of the local market. So check them out. Again, it's at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram, realestateshopfl.com, or give them a call at 954-268-9812. And now, who defended the house?
I mean, the Heat defended okay. The Bulls shot 11 of 42. That's 26% from three. Slight rebounding edge to Chicago, but there were pockets of this game where the Heat defended okay, but ultimately they just didn't shoot well enough and didn't make enough plays down the stretch. What do you think that this is when they have everybody back? And this is where we'll close because I kind of want to we'll talk about this philosophically. When they have Ware, Wiggins, Bam, Davion, and Hero, how much zone do you think that group should be playing?
It's a good question. I think this team does, even though they play terrible defense at times. Like you said, they did. The Bulls are a really good offensive team whenever they're clicking. But I think, I don't know. That's a really tough question. Shout out to Alex, right? It's a tough question because I think zone is more of a wrinkle that you throw in to try to get a team off their rhythm, not necessarily something you lean on consistently. And then they do have a lot of guys that I think can be very good one-on-one defenders and switch defenders. Wiggins fits in with that. Davion, you got Bam. Ware is getting better in a lot of matchups. So I wouldn't rely on the zone a ton, especially with the size. I think the reason they've relied on zone a little bit more in the past is they have been smaller. Now they're getting bigger with Ware and Bam moving to the quote unquote 4. And Wiggins, even, I mean, he has switchability. So I don't think it's as big of a thing needed, especially with teams becoming more and more 3-point shooting too. Even like quote unquote bad shooters, you still can't leave open. So I think it's just a wrinkle trying to throw someone off or trying to make something, but not something I would prefer to rely on in a big way.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that the initial group doesn't need a ton of zone to be played. I think it's when you integrate the bench that they need to do more of it. And we'll see. Now, this is going to be 3 games in 4 nights. When they play the Hornets on Monday, they get tomorrow off. We will still have a podcast coming to you. I think Ethan and I will record something, but they play the Hornets up next. It'll be their 3rd game in 4 nights at home against a subpar team. They need to get a victory. Like, we're getting to the stretch here where like they just need some feel good, and that'll be a victory. We'll see if they can get it against Charlotte. They did not get it tonight against Chicago. They go to 29-34. The Miami Heat lose 114-109 on their home floor to the Chicago Bulls. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Major. We will have you covered for Heat Hornets on Monday. Alex, Brady, and Ethan will be at the game. And I don't know who's on post game with me yet, but we'll figure that out as we go here. Thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend. Peace out.